race fans, it's a beautiful, crisp, sunny day in Daytona Beach, Florida, and we are ready to wave the green flag on yet another NASCAR season. 2010 brings with it new rules and a new attitude, but we're starting in the same place, Daytona, and that means NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot, is coming your way next.
Jimmy Johnson claims his 4th consecutive Sprint Cup Series championship.
As spring thaws away past memories, a new year dawns. When race teams descend on Daytona, where NASCAR's history meets the present, and the curtain rises on another year, hope waits. At the 500, before the season fully blooms, legends write their stories. Not in the sand, but rather on the track. Joy, passion, euphoria. All part of the plot and on display for the world to see. But today is not just about one race. It's about the start of another year. 43 teams dreaming of a bigger stage and waiting to show their colors. But for now, as the laps add up and the white flag rises, those at the head of the pack blossom and can see a way to live forever. Their name on that trophy, the trophy. Welcome to Daytona, where hope lives. NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot, is next on Speed.
There's a good chance that every young race car driver's first love was Daytona. What started on the beach more than half a century ago has moved to the blacktop, to the place where legends are made and legendary finishes have happened. No other track has more prestige or a longer history, and a select 33 men have won here, for each the biggest victory of their lives. And after what we have seen so far during Speed Weeks 2010, there is good reason to get on your feet and greet a new NASCAR season. Every fan lives for race day, and today it all starts over with a clean slate at the world's center of racing, the Daytona International Speedway. Woo!
That's right. There's a lot of people here.
There are a lot of people here.
And a good morning to all of you, and welcome to NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot. It is sunny, it's a crisp morning, but it's beautiful in Daytona, and we are about to drop the green flag on another season of NASCAR racing. I'm John Roberts, along with Kyle Petty and race car driver Kenny Wallace, finishing P16 in the Nationwide Series race yesterday. If I may quote Darrell Waltrip, it's the Daytona 500.
Race fans, it is the Daytona 500. I have goosebumps. My best finish ever was 16th in the Daytona 500. But every year I came down here, I said to myself, this is going to be my year. The greatest driver ever, Dale Earnhardt, he only won it one time. But there's guys like Derek Cope, Ward Burton, they just came down and they just simply won the Daytona 500. Here's the question. What driver in that garage area right now, or they're in their motorhome, they're getting up, it's early down here in Daytona, they're saying, maybe this is my year. Cal, what driver is going to win the Daytona 500?
Yeah, right now, there's 43 of them over there that believe they can win the Daytona, and that's what's so special about it. I look at this race, I don't even know what my best finish. I know plenty of times I missed this race and went home, and you see the emotion on Max Pappas and Mike Bliss and Michael McDowell making this race, just making the Daytona 500. This is the deal about this race. It's not a career breaker, but it's a career maker. And I don't think you can understate the importance of the Daytona 500. There's a lot of guys that almost never did anything else in their career, but they're known as Daytona 500 winners. I would like to have that on my resume. Never got it, but that would be something special. That is something special.
And perhaps the king himself, Richard Petty, said it best when he said, once you win the Daytona 500, you're a winner everywhere you go. Let us now go to Hermie Sadler to get his take on this season-opening race. Hermie?
Well, you guys are talking about it right. The biggest race of the year, the Daytona 500. But let's talk about the 2010 season. Who's going to win the championship? Well, if anybody's going to knock Jimmy Johnson off, and not, keep him from getting 5 in a row, I want to know who that is. They made history last year by winning 4 in a row last year, going for 5 in a row this year. Absolutely unbelievable. Let's talk about Jimmy's week so far in Daytona. On Wednesday, a crash in practice. You can see it right here coming off turn 4. He goes to miss some cars coming to the entrance of pit road, messes up the nose of this low Chevrolet. They go to a bag-up car. You can see the contact right there. He has to go to a bag-up car. But what does a championship team do? They come back. Thursday, the duel. Jimmy Johnson stays out on old tires, comes back to the line, and wins his duel race on Thursday to give him a 3rd starting spot for today's Daytona 500. When they get down, they always come back stronger. This team is confident. This team is ready to defend their championship. And who's going to do it, Wendy? Can anybody in this garage challenge the 48 and put enough pressure on them to knock him off?
I think that's the million-dollar question for 2010, Hermie. Who can knock Jimmy Johnson off the top in 2010? Well, a lot of folks have said Tony Stewart, his new team last year, Stewart-Haas Racing, coming into 2010 with a little bit of extra oomph, as we've seen at Speed Week so far. Tony Stewart has been fast. Now, when we saw in the dual races, he was up front in that draft. His car is good for the Daytona 500. Keep in mind, folks, this is the biggest day of our race season. Other than the championship, this day is important because drivers want to win the Daytona 500. Kyle Petty, you just said it. It won't break your career, but it will definitely make your career. And this is a career kind of day for a lot of these drivers. They were up early. I've seen many of them. You could see the excitement in their face. Hey, it's race day. We're back, and it is the Daytona 500. Kyle?
Yeah, it is truly one of those things. We come down here a couple of weeks ago. You get a few hours practice one day, a few hours. You set so much here. You guys can't believe how much you set in your bus. You talk to other drivers. All you want to do right now, you're out there sitting in that bus right now, waiting for the driver's meeting. You just want to get in a race car. How important is to get the Daytona 500?
I've been here since January 31st. It's Speed Weeks, baby, 2010. We're getting ready to kick it off. And what kind of strategy, will these drivers use? Will they ride? Will they attack at the end? Will your driver run up front all day long? I mean, it's going to be a chess game all day.
We talk so much about weather because it has such an effect on the kind of racing we see. First of all, we've seen great racing in the events we've had so far here at Daytona. Current temperatures right now, as we take a look, 40 degrees. The wind chill is 37. Are we in Florida?
I mean, I don't think we're in Florida. Hey, whatever happened to global warming? Where'd that go?
It didn't come to Florida.
I got to tell you this. I read on Twitter 2 or 3 times last night where they said, man, it must be really cold down there. Tony Stewart did a burnout and there was no tire smoke. But that's how cold the temperature is, but that's how cold that the tires have been also.
NASCAR fans have asked and NASCAR has listened. They have gone across the board with consistent start times for the season, making this the earliest Daytona 500 start in a long time. That means we're going to finish this thing. The sun's still going to be probably pretty high in the sky.
Yeah, and that's going to affect the racetrack. I think if we go back to the duels that were on Speed on Thursday night, you saw the first race, or Thursday afternoon, you saw the first race. They really got spread out. It was in the sunlight. The track got hot. It got a little bit slicker. The second race, the temperature dropped. It got cloudy. They all got bunched up. Today, they're racing in the sun, and they've not had a lot of practice in the sun with the Cup cars.
Jimmy Johnson won the dual 150 on old tires. He stayed out. Somebody said, well, what do you think he's going to do if it comes down to 10 to go? I said, you know what? What time does this race start? 1:15? Will those used tires, will they do good now? Because it's going to be right in the middle of the day. This race could be ending somewhere around 3:30, 4 o'clock, something like that. That will play a decision with the sun beating down on this racetrack.
Today on NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot, we have champions, legends, surprises, and fun coming your way across the day. We'll take you all the way up to Fox's pre-race coverage. We got 3 hours of race day coming your way.
While NASCAR's back on familiar ground today, the off-season shuffle continued this past winter. And we're your guides to keep track of all the changes. We'll give you the 411 on the info you need to know. Heading your way, NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot.
NASCAR Race Day is built by the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. Brought to you in part by Hershey's Milk and Milkshakes. Try a new way to indulge in Hershey's. And by DirecTV. To get the most out of your high-def TV, you've got to hook it up to DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
Across NASCAR's 3 top divisions, no one won more than Kyle Busch. His Cup effort, however, left him out of the chase for the championship. So you got to believe that this year, Kyle Busch is a man on a mission.
And we weren't lying to you, race fans, when we said the drivers are up and at it early this morning for the Daytona 500. Kyle, good morning to you. It is bright and early here in Daytona. What are you feeling right now? You're doing a lot of media things this morning. How do you stay focused?
Well, it's relaxed time now. You just kind of just let everything go by its way and get ready to get in the car here later on this afternoon after the drivers meeting, after changing and eating some lunch, I guess.
Now, watching you this week at Speed Weeks, the last 2 weeks, between the nationwide race, truck race, you really are a complete racer at this point. You look like you're positioning yourself like a Kevin Harvick Incorporated. Is that your goal in the racing industry?
Well, we're trying. We'd like to have had a better showing last night, especially for Hell of a Good and M&M's who were on the back tailgate. But, it was just unfortunate circumstances. And, of course, the nationwide race, we got caught up in that big one on the backstretch and tried to make our way back up through there, and we were doing a fine job running 5th, and then just got pushed too much through 3 and 4, got loose and lost it. But it's been a tough week so far for us, but it's also been a good week on the Cup side. We've had a good car in some of the runs. We had a good finish in the duels. We had a good run in the Budweiser shootout. So we've been there, and we've been consistent enough that hopefully today, we can try to stay out of trouble and finish well.
I liked what I saw at the end of 2009 with you and your new crew chief, Dave Rogers. What have you discussed about today's race and exactly the game plan? Because it is a game of chess out there.
It is, and Dave and I haven't spoken yet this morning. I don't know if he's awake yet, but I know I am. No, I'm just kidding. He's here. We're waiting to get together and discuss our plan of attack. I don't know what it needs to be. You don't get much TV time riding in the back, and I know Mars would rather see us up front. So maybe we just go for it. But, Matt Crafton played it right last night. He rode around all day and then was there at the end and ended up finishing 5th. So that's sometimes what you need to do, and he had the patience enough to do that. But, hopefully for us today, we can have a good solid run and stay out of trouble and just be there where we can be in contention at the end of this.
I noticed your hat, Gillette Young Guns, that you're wearing this morning for the Daytona 500. What is the Gillette 500? Because when I joked around with Joey Logano, your teammate, I asked him if he really was even old enough to shave.
Well, the Gillette 500 is it's a promotional deal that we're putting on as the Gillette Young Guns, and we're trying to go around the country to shave 500 miles of guys' faces, which equates to about 500,000 shaves. So people can go on Gillette500.com and enter for their chance to win a hometown visit by one of the Young Guns. Myself would be in Vegas, Clint Boyer, in Kansas, Danny in Virginia, of course. So, besides all that, it's really a neat deal, and everybody should go out and get their Gillette MVP razor because ultimately that's the best shave.
It sure is, and race fans, keep in mind, Kyle, grow out your beard for Kyle Busch. He's coming to Las Vegas. He might be able to shave you in Las Vegas, his hometown. But more importantly, it's the Daytona 500. Kyle Busch starting 7th today. Johnny?
Wendy, thanks a lot. And a lot of these Daytona 500 finishes have been pretty close shaves themselves. Each new season represents a clean slate for every team, like the number 18 of Kyle Busch. But this year, for some of the teams, elite teams in NASCAR, it represents somewhat of a meet and greet because, like every other season, 2010 brings us new faces in new places.
Roush Fenway Racing will be forced to adhere to NASCAR's 4-team maximum. To accomplish this, the 26 team has been dissolved.
I don't think losing a team will hurt us as bad as streamlining can help us. I'm hoping that it allows us to put our best people in place for those 4 teams and make those 4 teams the best they can be.
Donnie Wingo will move from the 26 shop to the 6 of David Reagan as longtime Roush crew chief Jimmy Fennick moves over to head up the team's R&D efforts.
It's just a matter of how using our talented people, what kind of assignments to give, and where we spend our time.
Jamie McMurray was briefly without a ride, but now returns to the team where he started his Cup career, replacing Martin Truex Jr. in the 1 car.
Coming back, it's just a warm feeling and just kind of feels like home.
That's done a lot of carbon.
Wow. That was at the old shop.
I know.
You've been in here?
The whole time I was here, we just had really solid performance.
26-year-old Jamie McMurray pulls off the victory in just his 2nd NASCAR Winston Cup start.
Kevin Mannion will remain as crew chief.
His personality is a lot like mine. He's not quite as outgoing as what I am, but certainly our personalities are very similar to each other.
Martin Truex Jr. leaves Earnhardt Ganassi to take over the Napa car as Michael Waltrip cuts back his schedule to focus on his car owner responsibilities. Pat Dreisen will crew chief Truex in the 56, leaving the 2 car and Kurt Busch. He is replaced by Steve Addington.
It's me and a new crew chief working together. So Steve Addington and myself need to get together and develop that chemistry, and the sooner we can do that, the more comfortable everything will feel.
The goal is to win a championship. This team finished 4th in the points last year behind 3 Hendrick cars, and I think that it's up to us to take it to the next level.
Addington was replaced on the 18 pit box by Dave Rogers, who was promoted from Gibbs' nationwide program at the end of 2009.
We're going to take it one step at a time, and we're going to evaluate our season on our progression. We want to get better each and every week, and we want to be at our best about when the chase starts.
Brad Keselowski also leaves the Nationwide Series, moving from Junior Motorsports to Penske's number 12.
You know, Brad is very energetic, you know, and you look at him and he's like, man, is a kid going to stay focused in a race car? But as soon as he puts that helmet on, he is a student of the game and he goes after it.
Edwards goes up in the air. A wild crash as they come down to the start-finish line.
For the first time in his NASCAR Sprint Cup career, Brad Keselowski is in victory lane here at Talladega.
There's certain things that I've seen coming over here and looking at this program from day one that made me really believe that the program is going to go on a massive upswing over the next few years.
Penske will be the only team left in the garage with Dodge support, as Richard Petty Motorsports has moved to Ford in the offseason. A.J. Allmendinger will pilot the famous 43. And Roush Fenway will not be the only team down a car. Richard Childress Racing has closed the 07 shop for 2010. Casey Mears moves to startup effort, Keyed Up Motorsports, led by Doug Richard.
And that's one of the cool things for every new NASCAR season is seeing new faces in new places. Your team, not so much a new place, you're kind of reuniting with some of the guys in the shop, but a new crew chief and back in Chevrolet. And so far, it's been pretty good for you guys this week.
Yeah, we started out running really well in the Bud shootout, and we got our car a little bit too loose for the 150, but we went back to a similar setup to what we ran on last Saturday night, and this car seems to have a little bit more speed in it. So, I mean, the Daytona 500, it's about having a fast car and a good handling car, but it's also about just getting to the end. You know, typically they'll have a couple of wrecks in this, so we hope to survive.
You've wanted this racetrack, you know, back in 2007 in July. I know you'd love to add the Daytona 500 championship to your banner as well. What would it mean to you to win this race?
Well, I mean, it would be certainly be the biggest win of your career, and I think every kid growing up, you know, dreams about winning the Daytona 500. I did, and you know, I remember Matt Kenseth last year is probably the best memory I have is walking up to his car and seeing him about to cry. And I don't want to call him out on TV right here, but it's just what it means to all of us. You know, we all grew up racing stock cars, and to be able to win the Daytona 500 is a really big deal.
And we talk about new places. Your first time working with Kevin Bono Mannion this week. How's that been for you?
It's been really good. You know, it takes a little while to get used to that. I mean, I went over to his motorhome last night, and I'm really bad about taking notes, and I went over there and I saw his eyes like, oh no, he's brought notes over here. So, but it's actually been good so far, and they've done a really nice job, and Kevin's made some really good calls the last couple of the races we've been in, the 150 and the shootout with getting 2 tires, and that's really what's given us a chance to be able to win those races.
Well, today is the day for the Daytona 500, but it's Also, something else going on today. Anything you'd like to get off your chest before we end this interview?
Well, I want to wish my wife, Christy, happy Valentine's Day. She's actually in the motorhome right now, and I've gotten her a back rub is what I told her I would get her for Valentine's Day.
Well, I want to wish my wife, Angie, happy Valentine's Day, too. And Christy, it's because he said he forgot to get you a gift, but he's going to get one before the day is over. Back to you guys.
Hermie, thanks a lot. He's a very smart man. Not only a good race car driver, but a smart man as well. You know, the stars come out for the Daytona 500. Right now, inside the track, country singer Tim McGraw is doing a little sound check, getting ready to go for the fans on the inside, and the pageantry will begin very shortly.
It's the granddaddy of all races. Just to be a part of it is neat.
It's an amazing race. Just walking through the pits before the race, you see all the movie stars, all the actors, and it's something that the emotions, the excitement that you have going out there, and it's probably one of the coolest races on the planet.
And the hype and the energy and the vibe on pit road is unlike any other race. And then to actually have experienced winning the race and victory lane and all that comes with it, I hope to experience it again.
Daytona 500, this is the deal. This is it. This is the great American race. Kicks off your momentum for the course of the year. If you're a fan, gets you energized for the start of another great season.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Daytona 500 edition of NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot. Now, the Sprint Cup crew chief has probably the hardest job in all of motorsports, especially when you take over for an established winning driver. A man in that situation is standing by with Wendy Venturini.
Well, thanks, Johnny. And I am with Steve Addington, crew chief for Kurt Busch, and there's no sweating here. He's been smiling all morning long, but I'm sure the stress is slowly building up as the media starts to huddle around you, Steve. How do you approach the biggest race of the year with your new driver and knowing what's going on this week?
I think it's been a rough week. It started, pretty rough with the shootout cars and stuff getting tore up, but this 500 car has been awesome, and the guys here at the racetrack have worked their tails off, and it's just been a pretty more relaxed about going into this race than I have been in a long time. Kurt's been awesome. We've been sitting in the lounge talking about what we need to do to the race car and the changes and stuff, and it's went really well. I'm really pleased with the whole situation here at Penske, and I think we can get this Middle Light Dodge in victory lane today.
Now, I really love your laid-back attitude. We know Kurt Busch can get a little hot under the collar and very competitive like a lot of the other drivers out there. There's a lot at stake. How do you balance that? Is that what's important for a crew chief in your position?
I think it is. It really is, and I think that with him sitting down talking to him, and he understands that we need to be there at the finish of this thing, and we'd like to go up there and lead a lap and get 5 points, but we're just going to try to get in line, click laps off, and be there at the end, because this is a big race, and we'd like to be here tomorrow presenting that car over there in the museum.
Now, I know, looking at the dual races, you saw what Chad Knaus chose to do with Jimmy Johnson and old tires. How much is that playing into your strategy of what you want to do for the Daytona 500 today?
Well, I'll tell you what, I talked to Chad after that, and I said that's a pretty gutsy call, and it makes it a lot easier to make those calls when you believe in your driver that'll get up on the wheel and hang in there and finish the race off for you. And I feel that way with Kurt. I feel like that if I put him in that position, that he's going to be with me and he's going to get up on the wheel and get it there to the end for us. So, it makes it easier for a guy like Chad to make that call with Jimmy Johnson in the seat, and it'll make it easier for me to make that call with Kurt Busch in the seat.
Well, good luck in the Daytona 500. I haven't told Steve Addington this story, but I asked somebody in the garage, who do you think is going to win? And they weren't associated with Penske Racing, and they looked around, and they did this right next to me. So I'm sure that's making Steve Addington smile. Hermie?
Well, I think they have a good chance to win the race, but if they do, one of the cars they're going to have to beat is this 18-car Toyota for Kyle Busch and his crew chief, Dave Rogers. And Dave, you came on the scene last year, and you guys clicked almost immediately. Fast race cars every week. The question is, how do you take those fast race cars and get them to victory lane?
That's a good question. We clicked so quickly because of the relationship we had on the nationwide side. I worked with Kyle and Jason so much, and it's worked so far. But you're right. We've done a lot of talking, but today we got to do it.
Well, it's no other race like the Daytona 500. This is your first 2 weeks as a crew chief for the Daytona 500. How's that experience been for you?
I keep telling myself it's just another race, but it's not. It's the Daytona 500. Stomach's turning a little bit. Got some nerves going on, but once we get racing, I think it'll be fine. We worked really hard this off season, put a lot of time in this race car. Kyle's kept taking good care of it all week. Hopefully we got it handling for him and he can do something with it at the end.
We see Kyle a lot on TV. He's obviously a very competitive driver. You get to spend time with him working on race cars, dissecting notes. Tell the fans at home, what is the thing you like most about working with Kyle Busch?
Well, his passion and his talent. You know, he complains about the car a lot. He dissects it a lot, and he wants you to make it better. But when you do, you see it on the stopwatch. No, that's rewarding. He'll make you work hard, but if you do it and give him what he wants, he rewards you. So he can dissect a race car with the best of them, and he can drive a race car with the best of them.
And this should be a potent combination in 2010. And I want to send it out to Kenny Wallace on the set. Every year, because of the nature of the competitiveness of this sport, there's always changes going on with high-profile drivers, crew chiefs trying to find that chemistry, Kenny, can be hard to find sometimes.
Race fans, what an interesting 2 interviews. You know, one with Steve Addington, the other one with Dave Rogers. Now, let's study this. Dave Rogers was already in the Joe Gibbs organization. So he simply came in and said, okay, I'm going to take over for crew chief for Kyle Busch. Steve Addington, very interesting because he leaves Gibbs Racing and goes to Penske Racing. And what did he bring? He brought a lot. From what I know, the cars are running lower at Penske Racing because of Steve Addington. And Kyle, best qualifying ever for Penske Racing with Kurt Busch qualifying 6th, and now he's one of the favorites to win the Daytona 500. So I think Steve Addington brought something new to Penske.
And that's what's been interesting about the offseason here. You've got guys, quality guys that are looking for jobs, quality guys that are moving from team to team. And you look at that organization, the Penske organization, you say, could they have not have moved somebody from internally to the crew chief position? And I think the thing is that, no, they couldn't. They wanted to bring somebody else in to bring new blood. We've owned a team before, and you look at it and you think, man, everybody here already knows our game plan. Let's bring somebody else in, stir us up. And when you look at it like that, Steve Addington brings something brand new to the Penske organization. It gets them off square one. It makes them move. It makes them look at the car different, think about the car different. And I think that's what Kurt Busch needs. And he's shown so far in this race, or in the weeks down here, it's moved him a little bit. So now a couple of months worth of planning, talking, and moving comes down to one thing, the green flag on the 2010 season and the Daytona 500. Still to come on this edition of NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot. Legends, champions, and a few surprises along the way. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series has the longest season in professional sports. Across 36 points events and 2 all-star races, a lot can happen. And here's a look back at just what all happened in 2009.
It's all about desire. Got to have the want to get this thing done here this year.
Jimmie Johnson becomes a 3-time winner at the Brickyard.
None of the past matters. Today's about today.
Pop the champagne. Gordon wins for the first time at Texas Motor Speedway.
Yes, you guys got me a win in Texas. I love you. Woo! Have fun today, boys. Simple, but we appreciate it. We're a team deal. We're going to get this thing back up there together.
Tony Stewart has won for the first time as an owner. He does so in Pocono.
God, I'm proud of you guys. Woo! You make me look like a damn genius in here. Another day at the races. Go out here and show them how we grind. Yeah, 10-4, buddy. Nothing else we'd rather be doing than right here today.
Mark Martin has waited for 4 years to go back to victory lane, and he has done it.
You are the man. All right, guys, do our best. Have some fun.
Casey Kane gets Richard Petty Motorsports to victory lane.
We want a road course race. Should be a long race. Just take care of it, man. We'll be there at the end, man. You have a good day.
Tony looks to make the move. He swings to the high side. Kyle blocks. Tony gets it to Kyle. He hits the wall.
Brad Keselowski on his back bumper.
You just watch him in your mirror. He's all over you here. Just you and him.
Contact here in the triangle. Edwards goes up in the air. A wild crash as they come down to the start-finish line.
Are you kidding me? Get your together. I have to let him go here, because if he touches me again, I'm going to freaking knock his head off. We don't make any good adjustments during the race. It's the most frustrating thing in the world to think that you think that we're better than what we are.
Pretty nice. If a caution comes out, we're going to fix it. Stay focused. You're fine. Fine. Not fine at all. If you were driving this business right now, you wouldn't be telling me that.
You're right. That's what you get paid for. Focus, dude. P8. Big picture. All you had to do is just stay in line, help a brother out, and be cool. No, that's all right.
Once again, they've fallen in the line, single file. After some breathtaking moves there for about 15 laps, suddenly it calms down again.
Nobody doing nothing. Everybody just riding. Take your iPod with you?
They were smart. They just tell us there's 30 to go, and that'd be the end of it. And they'd get what they want at the end. Without having to screw around.
They're almost leaning on one another. Oh, trouble further back. Ryan Newman up and over off the end of the back straightaway. On his road, sliding up, pounding the safer barrier.
Freaking raining like hell down there. Green.
Yellow, yellow, yellow. Yellow is out. Matt Kenseth is the 2009 Daytona 500 champion.
The rain is here.
Go spinning it out now. Racetrack's wet. You ain't kidding.
NASCAR has declared the race official. Congratulations to Joey Logano, the youngest Sprint Cup winner ever.
I'm so lonely.
And out of turn 4, the checkered flag goes to Denny Hamlin.
Good job.
And Brian Vickers will be in the chase for 2009.
Did we make it? Did we make it? We made it. Great job.
It's the 4th race in the chase, and it has taken a bad turn for Denny Hamlin.
And Jimmy Johnson indeed makes history tonight and claimed his 4th consecutive Sprint Cup Series championship.
Woo! I don't know how to begin to thank all of you guys. Thank you so much. History, boys. No one ever.
Richard Petty didn't do it. Dale Earnhardt didn't do it. But Jimmy Johnson won 4 championships in a row. And another part of history for Hendrick Motorsports, Kyle, we saw the 1-2-3, the first ever 1-2-3 finish in points.
Yeah, and that was amazing to me. Jimmy Johnson winning 4. I don't think he got enough credit for that. I mean, they just go about their business. They just hammer. And then you look at it and you say, my God, there's Mark and there's Jeff right there with him. That's the Hendricks organization. And for 2009, that was the big story for me, was the disappearance of the Roush organization and the Fords. You look back, and a year before, those guys they won, 10 or 11 races. Hendricks only won like 7 or 8. Then it's reversed. And those guys, after Matt, won Daytona, won California, they disappeared after Vegas. But let me tell you something. Carl said something in the interview that they did earlier with him where he said, I think going from 5 to 4 will make us stronger. I think those guys might have closed the gap a little bit in 2010. We'll have to wait and see.
Kenny, what was your biggest moment in 09? What's the biggest trend you saw?
My biggest moment for 2009 was Mark the Kid Martin from Batesville, Arkansas. Here he is. He told everybody 3-4 years ago, salute to you. I'm done. I'm retired. I love the sport, but bye-bye, everybody. Fast forward, Mark the Kid Martin's back by popular demand. 50 years old and contends for the championship. Race fans, to me, that was the big story because like you said, Kyle, nobody could beat the Hendrick group. The only thing that could beat the Hendrick group was another driver contending against Jimmy Johnson. Mark Martin.
And there's no truth to the rumor whatsoever that just because Mark Martin is 50 that he drove the entire series with his right turn signal on last year. That's just not true. We got to take another break here on NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot. It is sunny and beautiful here in Daytona, and we are getting set for the 52nd running of the Great American Race. Stay with us.
Always one to lend a hand. When Haiti needed help, Hendrick stepped up.
I can tell you this. There's no championship, there's no race, there's no nothing that I've have such a warm feeling about is when Dave Dudley showed me the pictures of those kids getting off those planes holding their new family.
We've got the story of how Mr. H delivered hope after a disaster. Straight ahead, NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot.
Monday Night night, stop by the hub for our huge Daytona 500 recap, plus defending Truck Series champ Ron Hornaday is in the garage. Don't miss NASCAR Race Hub, presented by Hooters, Monday night at 7:30 Eastern, only on Speed. Now, courtesy of a Friday rainstorm here in Daytona, we had a twin bill yesterday, and it was under the lights, the green flag on the Camping World Truck Series here at Daytona. Some of the closest finishes on this track or any track have happened when these trucks take to the high banks of Daytona. And to say that this one was a wild ride, KP, well, that would be an understatement.
You know, this is look at this, guy. This is the best race of the week. I love this race, man. I love it more than anything else. And you look at this, and this is just typical Daytona, where somebody makes a mistake. You see, somebody makes a mistake, but look at how many trucks it takes out.
You know what happened was the bumpers on these trucks did not line up. Almost 80% of the cautions were because people, watch this, they're bump drafting. They turn our champion, Ron Hornaday, into the wall. Ricky Carmichael, great motorcycle champion, in the Ford truck, spinning around and around.
Yeah, and that's amazing. You know, and you look at this, and here's Max Pappas, who's having an incredible run. Gets knocked in the rear, right in the middle of the straightaway. And that's what happens with bump drafting. We have so many accidents. We've seen it in the duels. We've seen it all this time. But this was a great move right here. You look at Timothy Peters, gets a good run, just barely taps. It's the old Earnhardt, bump and run. For the win! Bump and run right there. He gets a little bit of help right here going through turn 3. The 46 will duck in behind him. This is great race. I don't care how many race trucks are on the racetrack. The finish is still a great finish.
And here they come to the stripe. Who's going to win it? On the outside, Todd Bodine. On the inside, Timothy Peters.
Shaking and baking all over the place, just holding on to it is Timothy Peters. What a way to start the season out, because this is the biggest one also for the Truck Series as well. Peters, Bodine, and Dennis Setzer, the veteran, in the 46, come home with a 1-2-3 finish. Now, we actually renamed Daytona Daytonica for Danica as the week wore on.
You did,
Yeah.
not me.
Let's take a look at the Nationwide Series race. They set up by owner points because their qualifying was rained out. And there's Danica Patrick in the number 7, holding her own once again.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you something. There was a lot of hype about Danica, a lot of things that went on this week. She did a good job in this race. This was a huge step. Justin Allgaier said going from ARCA to the Nationwide Series was like going to 4th grade to your senior year in high school. That's how big a step it was.
And you got to say she graduated with honors after this one, because caught up in a wreck not of her own doing.
Danica said, I wish these tires didn't billow so much smoke, because I can't see where I'm going when they spin out.
And these cars are so heavy that the smoke that she sees here, or that you see here, is a lot different from what she learned from the open wheel stuff. But you know, she did a great job of avoiding an accident first. Look, I'm going to tell you something. Nobody could get through some of this stuff. You know what I mean? You're just a victim of somebody else's accident, and that's what she was here.
Welcome to NASCAR. Welcome to Daytona. That happens all the time, but once again, a lot of congratulations from that team for a great job. Take a look at the wild ride for Dale Jr.
And this is the wreck that got me my 16th place finish. And I went under Dale Jr.'s car right here, and here we go again. You can see that Jr. starts flipping. Here we all go by, and everybody's trying to make it by, and some don't, and some do.
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you something. I think Junior's comment after this accident pretty much tells his attitude going into this year. He said, look, you only get an opportunity to get on your roof once or twice. You might as well make it spectacular. And my point is, he's kind of laid back. His attitude is a little bit more laid back and not so worried about what people are thinking about him this year.
5 of the last 6 times the Nationwide Series has raced here at Daytona, the winner has been the same man, and that is Smoke. Tony Stewart, who smoked him once again, and he is off to a great start for the weekend as Tony comes out victorious once again at Daytona. He's got one more race to win, and that one is the Daytona 500, and he's got his shot just like everybody else today. But let's go back and hear what Dale Jr. had to say after the Nationwide Series race.
I had to go back and look at the replay. When it was upside down sliding, I just, all them sparks and carrying on, and you can't tell where you're at or what's happening or who's going by or what's hitting you. But I asked Mike if it was awesome. He said it was pretty awesome. You don't want to flip one upside down and it not be spectacular. You don't want to waste your opportunity, right? If you're going to tear one up.
This is great because I just came from Tucson, Arizona about a month ago, and I've said this a couple times this week on Speed. Drivers, if you're going to fight, do it in front of the grandstands. And Dale Jr., if you're going to wreck really big. He did not disappoint. He's not hurt. thank God, and it was an exciting race.
Now, the last time a long-haired brunette made a debut at Daytona, it was Kyle Petty that made this much of a stir. But now it's Danica Patrick who is making.
Quit stealing Rutledge's line. That's painful, man. That's painful. Painful.
Rutledge did write that joke, by the way, but we appreciate that. But let's now hear from Danica Patrick about what she has to say after a huge debut in NASCAR.
At the end of the day, I really wanted to finish the race. That's what I told everyone before it started. I just wanted to finish, and I think that Tony Jr. and I were talking. We thought that if we could finish, we might have squeaked out like a top 15, and I would have been perfectly happy with that because I was just getting the hang of it, and we were kind of running in the 23rd or 4th spot, I guess. So it's really unfortunate. I was just getting the hang of it, just starting to have fun. Tony Jr. made a good change on that last stop that we had done, so it was just starting to be a place of comfort for me. And but just like you guys have seen plenty of times on these big tracks, you know, there's nowhere to go. You're running so close, and then, you know, the second worst thing is that there's so much smoke too. So, you know, you just can't see in front of you. So even if you had the ability to change lanes to pass something, you don't know if you're going to make it worse.
I don't know how I got nominated to be Danica's PR person, but obviously this week I've been her PR person one way or the other, and it's wearing me out. Let me just say this. I thought she did a great job. You know, it's not as easy drop the green flag and run in the top 5 or top 10 like she did in ARCA. It was drop the green flag on the Nationwide Series, and you're lucky to be in the top 30. Those guys are the best of the best. Let me just tell you, you got Cup drivers, you got the best Nationwide drivers, and she had to compete with that. I thought she did a great job. Qualifying was rained out. She started 15th, got to the back. That's harder to do than you think it is. Believe me, I've tried to get out of people's way my whole career and couldn't get out of people's way.
You won 8 Cup races.
That's a whole nother story in ancient times. But she got to the back, and she began to get comfortable. And I think that's the most important thing that you take away from this. If you're a Danica fan, for or against, doesn't make any difference. She got comfortable, and I think we'll see her grow from there. And that's what this race was all about.
We say it every weekend, so we might as well start at Daytona. If it was easy, everybody'd be doing it. There's only 43 out there at any given time. We got to take a quick break here. We promised you legends, though, and we got one coming up for you. Junior Johnson standing by with Mr. Squire, and we'll be back. It doesn't matter what you raced or where you raced it. Chances are your dream was to race in and win the Daytona 500. And that's what caused our good friend Ken Squire years ago to dub this the Great American Race.
Traditionally, the Daytona 500 has symbolized the start of the NASCAR racing season. Now entering its 7th decade as the premier event in stock car racing, the 2010 Daytona 500 has quite a standard to live up to. As past decades have dawned, the Great American Race has seen legends add to their lore and unknown wheelmen become household names. By 1960, Junior Johnson had already become a Southern folk hero. In the second running of the Great American Race, Junior made a discovery that would not only take him to victory lane, but would change the course of super speedway racing forever.
Cotton Orange came by in one of them high-powered Pontiacs, and I just ducked in behind him coming off the 4 here, and when I got down to the 2, I was about half throttle. I figured out, well, if I can do this all day long, I'll be in pretty good shape. Jack Smith had burned a wheel bearing out in one of those Pontiacs, and they got him to fix the wheel bearing and stuff and go back out and pick up Bobby Johns. And I ducked in behind Bobby, and when I did, the back glass come out. Well, the whole back end of the thing come up in the air. And he went around and around down through there in the grass, and I went on one race.
The 1970 Daytona 500 saw a return by Richard Petty to the Chrysler fold after a year of racing Fords. And Petty was the odds-on favorite heading to Daytona. But it was an unheralded teammate of Petty's from the state of Maine, driving the radically designed Plymouth Superbird that would steal the show at the expense of the King's biggest rival.
Boy, they're really at it now. Look out! He's in trouble. He almost lost it.
We pitted the car, and I drove underneath David, and we went on, and he kind of came back up underneath me as the laps wound down to, 3 or 4, and we came close to touching and got a little squirrely and sideways and went on and won the race. I wanted to make so sure that I won that race that I run the lap after the finish of the Daytona 500 wide open. I went a whole nother lap all the way around just to make doggone sure There wasn't going to be anybody past me that if I had misread the flag or something.
Along with the Pettys, the Baker family has been with NASCAR virtually from the beginning. Buck Baker was NASCAR's first back-to-back champion in 1956 and 1957. And his son Buddy had long been considered one of the sport's hardest chargers. However, that hard-charging style sent Buddy to the garage early, more often than not.
Baker wants to be left alone.
After nearly 20 years of trying, Baker's hard driving took him to a win in the sport's biggest race, and at the same time, made history.
How about this? The speed, ladies and gentlemen, is a new world record for 500 miles. Faster than Indianapolis, faster than Talladega. Daytona today, 177,602 miles per hour.
All great things that happen to you in life should happen when you appreciate it the most. And when they dropped the flag for the 1980 Daytona 500, I just thought to myself, if this is my day, and this may be my last shot at winning Daytona 500 because everything's in place. The best car, best crew. I probably could have, if I really wanted to, I could have won it by over 3/4 of a lap. That's how good the car was.
Entering the 1990s, Dale Earnhardt was at the top of his game. With 3 championships under his belt and 4 more to come, the Intimidator seemed unstoppable. When it came to Daytona, however, Earnhardt was snake-bitten. After totally dominating and leading more than 3/4 of the 1990 Daytona 500, it was an unlikely hero, not Earnhardt, that made the most of his moment.
4-car shootout to decide it all. Dale Earnhardt.
Here comes Doug Cope down on the inside. Earnhardt has problems.
Slopping back, coming to the line. It's Labonte pulling up, and an amazing finish. The Whitcomb Racing Team has won it.
I had Terry Labonte right behind me. I had Bill Elliott behind him, and then Dale ahead of me. So, in my opinion, you couldn't be in better company. And to be able to be there toe-to-toe and to fend them off and know that you had been proficient that day, that moment in time to win that race. You'd climbed Mount Everest, and you finally had reached the pinnacle of what the sport is, and the epitome of what the sport's all about.
In the year 2000, Dale Jarrett and the Blue Ovals of Ford were dominating the young millennium. But it was an unsponsored Pontiac with Johnny Benson behind the wheel that nearly stole the show.
Here's Jarrett trying to go low. Benson comes back down to the inside, but Jarrett gets on the inside of it. Oh, he's going to drop back.
You got the Ford lane, you got the Pontiac lane.
Oh, too bad for Johnny Benson.
Because of caution flags and pit strategies, we had to work our way back through the field towards the end of the race. Just another tremendous victory, but it capped off. We just won the championship in '99. To come to Daytona and have a dominant speed week made us think that we were ready to challenge for another championship.
Jarrett joined Petty, Cale Yarborough, and Bobby Allison in an elite category of drivers to win the Great American Race 3 or more times. Jeff Gordon would join the club in 2005. As this decade dawns, who will make their own history and forever be known as champion of the Daytona 500?
Speed is very proud to be the official home of the opening of NASCAR's Hall of Fame. It's a big honor for us, but also think about the honor of being in the inaugural class. Only 5 people are in the first class for the Hall of Fame, and when you think of the thousands of great drivers, crew chiefs, and promoters there have been, that is a huge call to be in the first class in the Hall of Fame. Our good friend Ken Squire, who's a Hall of Famer in our mind, is standing by with one of the 5 inductees into NASCAR's official Hall of Fame. Ken?
Well, thank you, John Roberts. It's a big, beautiful, bright new season getting underway. They say they have a sellout crowd. And who better to talk about what the NASCAR's new regulations are? The new regulations, back to basics. No one knew them better than the man who basically just dominated back in the year 1960 and the years about it, 50 wins to his credit. The man from Eagle Hollow, North Carolina, the legend they call the last American hero. Junior, you were here for the 150s. Are they getting it done? Are we back to basics?
You're getting there. You're getting there. It's it's been a deal where the guys had to guess to see what they had, and now they're starting going back to where they know what they've got. And the one that's going to win this race today, he's going to be the smartest mechanic, chief mechanic on the car and the best driver. And I think you've got a whole lot of them that knows the old style type of racing.
And the old style type of racing was something that you really had down cold. And those were the days with no fuel cells. There were no window nets. The tires were not exactly thin, but they were skinnier by far than what you run today. And you had a handful and a handful of danger on every lap, on every corner.
Well, you know, I used to drive with my uniform was a T-shirt and a pair of white pants like a mechanic wears. And that's all I had for years and years and years. And then come along and Fireball Roberts got, you know, burnt real bad.
1964.
Yeah, and when that happened, then they'd start, you know, coming with the gas tank and also the fire suit, you know, and it saved a lot of people from getting really seriously burnt and stuff like that.
Well, then you became an owner, and that's where you really flew your colors, when you were an owner. And that was in the day when NASCAR didn't have that many inspectors. And I always thought it was rather fair, because you never cheated. You were just sometimes overly competitive in this game.
Well, you know, I had a lot of stuff that I didn't hardly know what it was, and I knew the inspectors wasn't going to know what it was. But, you know, a lot of times it was a safety factor that I, you know, introduced, and they didn't like it, and then they'd turn around and look at it the next race, and then here everybody came with it. But, you know, I was safety first, then speed second. And most of the time, the safety features that I introduced into the things saved a lot of people's lives.
And that's what counted so much, because it is such a fraternity, a real fraternity of people working together in this. And I get a sense this year that that feeling, that sense about what this is to race before this sellout crowd today is back to basics.
It is back to basics, and they'll work further back. You know, right now they just fresh looking at what NASCAR's telling them to do and they'll let them do. But as they go along, they'll go farther back to basics than what they are today.
Of course, when they go back to basics, they always think about the extra time they spent on cars that were prepared by well, let's see now. There was a Junior Johnson for sure. Then there was Harry Hyde. Then there was Runt Pittman that they seemed to have an excessive interest in every time you went through the old Temple of Doom.
Well, I used to have a big crowd gather around to see if I was going to make it through.
Yeah.
But, you know, they call it cheating. I call it innovation. And I think I'm right, because, you know, anything you do, if you do it better than somebody else, you're gonna feel good about it. It don't make no difference what you're doing in racing. If it's not something that hurts somebody, it's better.
Junior, final question. When you came here in 1960, that was the year you went to the Dogs. You ran for the folks next door here.
Right, and I did not.
The Kennel Club.
I almost had a taxi cab is what I had to drive.
Really?
And because Fox just had it about a week and a half, and he couldn't, all he could get in it was roll bars and, you know, wheels and stuff like that on it was safe. And basically it was a stock car. And to win this race is just absolutely you know, a miracle, just almost. And we figured out a way to win it, and it don't make no difference how you win it. That's okay.
Yep, that's the truth. Well, so that's the story on Junior Johnson here today as he prepares to watch the race, which he won in 1960 and became known later as the last American hero. And both Junior and I truly know who the real heroes are today. But in sports, there was only one Junior Johnson.
Ken, thank you very much, and we appreciate a true legend like Junior Johnson coming by and visiting with us on race day. And, you know, that was probably a very proud moment for you, Kyle Petty, see your father, the King, be in the first class as well. But Junior Johnson was simply one of a kind.
One of a kind. And you know what? I was born in 1960. He won the Daytona 500 in 1960. And that's what's so cool about this sport. We talk about it. Our legends and our history is still here. That's what's so cool about the Hall of Fame to me. But I love the semantics of what Junior says. They called it cheating. I called it innovation. You know what I mean? And he talks about the safety innovation along with trying to beat you. They tried to make the sport safer along with trying to make it a better show, faster cars, more competitive. They also tried to make it safer for their competitors. And Junior was head of the class in that.
And, you know, Junior Johnson is a great study of the sport. Just because he's retired doesn't mean he's not paying attention. I liked what he said. He said the longer we go, the more we are going to get back to basics because we have changed too much in the last 5 years. Junior's right. This Daytona 500 today is back to basics. Go ahead, boys, bump on each other, see who finishes.
Take the gloves off, see what shakes out on the racetrack, and that's what we're looking forward to today. And we're also looking forward to hear from country music superstar Tim McGraw, and that's coming your way next on this special Daytona 500 edition of NASCAR Race Day. Race fans, Speed is searching for the next big showbiz stars, singers, comedians, dancers, novelty acts to audition. Call 1-877-909-388 or email fasttracktofame2010@gmail.com and you could get your big break. Be one of the most famous people at the racetrack. Now it is time for us to go to one of the most famous people at the racetrack today, and he's standing by with Tim McGraw. Rutledge?
Hey guys, we're so lucky to get some great celebrities here on race day, and today one of my favorite singer-songwriter, musician Tim McGraw is here, and actor, I should say, and actor.
Don't nail me down that much.
How you doing, man? Welcome.
Thank you. I'm doing great. This is exciting.
Gonna be a big show. You guys are ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah, this is my first Daytona, so I'm very excited.
Now, you saw the stage. Did a little sound check already, right?
I did. I tried not to sing too much because we were in Des Moines, Iowa last night, and flew out of a snowstorm to get here. But,
yeah, you really put some effort in coming down.
Well, yeah, I'm going to be here. I mean, this is a big deal. I mean, for a country singer, a country boy, grow up in Louisiana to be at the Daytona 500, I mean, it can't get any better than that.
Now, I got to ask, I know you usually rock a little bit of stubble, but is this a Dale Earnhardt Jr. inspired fuller beard?
No, I'm in the middle of filming a movie right now.
In Nashville, right?
In Nashville, yeah. So I can't wait to shave this thing off, so it won't be too long.
And when can we see the movie?
I think the movie's going to be out next fall. Yeah.
Really? Because man, you did such a great job in Blindside. It was so cool to see you in there.
Thank you. It was fun. It was a great story and some great people involved in it. It was a lot of fun.
Now I know that you are married to an incredibly beautiful woman.
Last time I checked, I was.
Amen.
I haven't been home in a couple of days, so we'll see when I get back.
And she's not here with you today?
No, she's not here today. It's Valentine's Day, so she's home with the kids.
Here's what I'm thinking. My beautiful wife's at home. Your beautiful wife's at home. Do you think you could maybe...
There's nothing going to go in between us.
No, I just mean, could you send... No. I was thinking maybe you could just... Maybe a Tim McGraw Valentine.
NASCAR, right?
Maybe a Tim McGraw Valentine to the ladies. What do you... A little something.
Absolutely. Happy Valentine's Day. I love you, and he loves you, he says. But after what I've seen him do here, I'd be worried a little bit.
Honey, that's our special Valentine from Tim McGraw. Tim, thanks for being here. We got a lot more. I can't wait to see the race, man.
Thank you. That's great.
When a guy wearing a pink watch tells you he wants to do something special with you, I can understand that's pretty disturbing. Hey, race fans, how would you like to have an official Sunoco racing fuel can? Visit speedtv.com/Sunoco for entry details, official rules, and drawing dates. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the exciting stuff that's coming up for this year in 2010 on the racetrack and also on Speed. Stay with us.
The Daytona 500 is something that, you know, as a fan, you always grew up watching that race, and that's something that you talk about for weeks past the Daytona 500.
You know, I really, really do appreciate the opportunity that I have now to be a part of the Daytona 500 and drive for a team that actually has a chance to win and compete for the win.
It's amazing to be involved in it. I remember last year, it was the coolest thing I've ever done in my life. To this point, I still think it's the coolest thing.
Every time I come here, from my first time to now, it's just like we live in a dream because, you know, never thought I'd have the opportunity to do that.
So it's a special race, and it's cool to be a part of it.
A special race it is, and we've got the defending Daytona 500 champion Matt Kenseth on the show. And as a race car driver, you win your races, and they stick with you forever. Your first win, maybe, but I can't imagine any of them being bigger than a Daytona 500.
Yeah, it was huge. It's hard to believe it's been a whole year that's passed since then. So really looking forward to the race today. It's always a long week down here at Speed Weeks, getting everything ready to go and all the testing and practice and preliminary events and all that. So I can't wait to get down to it today, and I'm curious to see what the race holds like everybody else, and hopefully we can be in position to have a shot at it again at the end.
I know you guys, for the first time ever in your career under the chase format, you guys missed the chase. But what stuck out with me after that, you guys seemed to, like, it's a pressure off your shoulders. Let's work on next year. And you guys started really making some ground up as far as getting yourself in position to get back in contention for 2010.
Well, I mean, I hope you're right. We really didn't approach things a lot different than if we would have been in or out. We really just went and tried to build the very best stuff we could, bring our best stuff to the track, and run as hard as we could run each and every week. So I hope that the changes we made over the offseason, are going to be enough to contend. I feel like we've had a lot of good things happen, getting together with the petty cars and kind of sharing information and working together with engineering there, I think will hopefully help us both at the end. So I'm excited about it. It's a brand new year. We have Crown Royal on our car for 35 races this year and Valvoline for 3, so we got the whole year covered sponsorship-wise. So that's off our mind, and we're just concentrating on our performance and trying to get back into being a contender every week.
A couple changes from last year. First thing, a 1 o'clock start time. The race will probably finish in the late afternoon instead of going in tonight. Does that affect how you guys approach things as far as the setup on the car?
Not really. It's a little bit of unknown before, especially with the rain delays and some of the stuff we had going on. So today, I think, is going to be different track conditions than we've really seen for the last week and a half, really. It's had a Nationwide Series race and a Truck Series race yesterday. The sun is shining today without really any clouds. And even though it's cold ambient temperatures, I think the track is going to be more slippery than what we've seen all week. And I think the good handling cars are going to come to the front in the long run.
We've seen some wild racing this week. Coming off turn 4, where do you want to be? Do you want to be up front, outside, or third?
I want to be ahead of all the mess. I'd rather be in front every lap of the race if I could. We have seen some really aggressive, exciting racing this week. The 150s were really good races. Hopefully the 500 will be a lot like the 150s, real aggressive and exciting, but maybe not all the wrecks.
Well, Matt Kenseth looking to defend his Daytona 500 title, JR, and had a pretty good week so far in speed weeks, but look for these guys to rebound in 2010.
Hermie, thank you. We are getting closer and closer to the green flag of the 52nd running of the Great American Race, the Daytona 500. We're just barely firing our engines here on speed. We got not one, but 2 guys named Jimmy Johnson coming your way.
Does the start of another year mean the beginning of another title defense? We're taking you back through JJ's first 4 cups to see if history repeats itself again.
History, boys, no one ever.
Coming at you, NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot.
Just a few moments ago on NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot, you heard driver Joey Logano, the reigning Rookie of the Year, say the coolest thing he ever did was start the Daytona 500 last year. So now, let's let Joey Logano take us on a Home Depot hot lap around this huge speedway.
This is Joey Logano with your Home Depot hot lap. We just got done with the final practice for 500, worked on the old Home Depot Toyota a lot, made a lot of good changes. Feel like we made some changes that we can work on, me and Zip can talk about a lot, and try to put a good package together for the 500. Confidence level is way up, especially compared to last year. Last year was definitely didn't know what was going on. This year, definitely have a better feel for the race car, know what I want in the race car, and put my car in better positions in the racetrack, and working with the draft more to help us get up front and stay up front. Game plan for the 500 is just basically survival. That's the biggest thing we got to do. And I think during the race, we're going to definitely work in the draft and try to get our car balanced as good as we can for the last 50 laps, and hope to have a shot going there at the 500. We're going to be working on the car a lot. After the Nationwide race, a lot more rubber on the track, and I'm sure that's going to make everybody's car change quite a bit. As a driver in the race car, you're working a lot on what line your car works the best. Daytona is a big-time handling racetrack now, and you're really working on whether the car's good on the bottom or the top, and what you can make changes to make your car equal on top and bottom, so you have the options at the end of the race. That's probably the biggest thing I'll be looking for. And that's your Home Depot hot lap. Hope you enjoyed it.
Mark Martin is getting ready to start his 50th race here at Daytona, and he says he still learns every time he races here something new about how to race at Daytona. When you look at a young driver like Joey Logano just racing his 2nd race here, you got a lot of learning left to do.
Textbook is what I say. If you were to open up a manual and you would say, if a driver was a rookie last year, how should he be doing? Joey Logano is doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing. He's getting better, and better, and that's a sign of a great race car driver. Kyle, I think he's doing good.
I think he's doing great. I watched him last year, listened to him talk last year. and I thought I was listening to a junior high student talk. And I can't get that out of my mouth because he's so young. But I'm listening to this piece and not watching it, and I'm hearing him talk, and he sounds like he's a graduate student. You know what I mean? He's got his degree. He is getting there. He has learned this stuff. He is a lot more mature than what I think a lot of people give him credit. You look at him and you see 12-year-old. You hear him talk and you see professor.
Well, one thing I like about Joey, you know, is that he remembers this race from last year and he goes, okay, I go into turn 1. You know, when I get in the middle, there's a bump there. So he knows there's that bump going in the middle of 1 and 2. He knows that if the wind's coming at him, coming off of turn 2, he knows that can shove the front nose over. He knows he'll hit the wall this year if he pushes the envelope. Then Kyle, you know, you yourself know what turn 3 and 4 is all about.
3 and 4 is just getting back home, man. That's all what are you talking about? We used to come here and qualify and you'd run through, but you know, 1 and 2 is the bumpiest part of the racetrack. 3 and 4 is all about learning the racetrack to position yourself to run to the flag. I don't care what anybody says. Whether you run up next to the wall, down on the bottom, it's all about as you run during the day, it's just getting your car to handle good. And Joey and those guys said at the beginning of that piece, we've worked on adjustments to make our car get better as the day goes on. And that's what he's learned more than anything.
So now driver Hermie Sadler is going to take us behind the wheel of the race car and tell us about some new technology that's going to be to the forefront this season.
As we get ready for the day's running of the Daytona 500, we've had some great racing here all week long. And it's due in part to a couple of rule changes that NASCAR made to the cars before we got on the racetrack last week. A couple you cannot see, and one major one that you can see on the racetrack. Look at this shark fin down the back of Tony Stewart's race car, up to 3 inches tall this year. And this year it extends all the way down the deck lid of this car. Now the reason NASCAR raised the shark fin and added it down the deck lid is to slow the rate in which this car would move if it happened to spin around, trying to slow it down. The reason they're trying to do that is to help keep these cars on the racetrack. So this particular rules change was not about performance, it was about safety, trying to slow these cars down if they spin and keep them on the racetrack. One of the changes NASCAR made this year was to a component you cannot see from the stands or on TV. It's the rear shocks on these cars. I borrowed this rear shock from Casey Kane, the number 9 car. He won a dual race here on Thursday. What they did, they added about a third more rebound to the rear shocks. Now what is rebound? When I push this shock down as the car travels, that's compression. The rate in which this shaft comes back out is rebound. They added rebound to give the drivers more control of the car. This racetrack is very, very bumpy, and this allows the crew chiefs, you can shut the shaft off on the bottom of this shock, get maximum rebound. You can open the shaft up to release some of the rebound to give more adjustment to the car. But it's all about allowing the drivers and the crew chiefs to have more control of the back of the car at this bumpy Daytona racetrack. Another rule change for this week that's been one of the more talked about rule changes for these cars is this restrictor plate right here that goes between the carburetor and the intake manifold to restrict the air flow through the engine and reducing horsepower. They increased the size of these restrictor plate holes by 1/64 of an inch. What does that do? About 10 to 12 more horsepower and a lot more throttle response on the racetrack. And what NASCAR is trying to do is enable a driver, if it gets a little bit free on the racetrack or his car's too tight, if he's got to get out of the throttle to get through the corner, he can get the throttle back down and catch back up in the draft. This is cause for much more competitive racing on the racetrack at Daytona, and the drivers always love horsepower.
Oh, you got that right, Hermie Sadler. They love the horsepower around here, but this is a much different beast than Talladega. You may think these two plate tracks are similar. Right here, it's all about handling. It's a lot different than Talladega as we ride with Casey Kane.
And this is a handling racetrack, and every driver all week long, from the time they unloaded, from the time they run the shootout through the duels, they talk about handling. This is between 1 and 2. There's a bump on the bottom of the racetrack here. Now, you saw Hermie's piece, which was a great piece, and I love the piece that he did on rebound. Pushing a shock in, and as the shock comes out, coming down the backstretch here, this is where we see guys bump draft and get into each other. I'm sorry, I'm kind of talking and not paying attention here, but this is where a lot of stuff happens. The transition into 3 right there. You see the car just instantly transition in.
And do you notice that Casey Kane, this car you're riding with, he chooses to go to the bottom down here, but in 1 and 2, he ran high. So it is going to be a different racetrack because of this 1:15 starting time. I'm feeling the heat right now. A lot of those drivers might be searching that high side because their cars will slide up there. To stay wide open, you can kind of search the high side out.
Now here is perhaps the biggest change from the last time we ran a plate race at Talladega till now. Before it was we're going to police you all around the track, watch out for the bump drafting. Here they said, guys, the gloves are off, have at it. Bump draft if you want.
Yeah, and they said bump draft if you want, and this is some shots from early practice where the guys were trying to understand the plate and the closure rate. I think when we got into the duels that these guys police themselves. I know this is stuff that happened the first practice, you know, for the shootout and stuff. And when you look at it, we had some incidents. We had some incidents in practice, and these guys basically took themselves out trying to understand the closure rates, trying to understand what this new shark fin was doing. You think, okay, what are they going to do? They raise the shark fin, they put it on the deck lid. What's that do? That's not going to do anything. Totally changes the way these cars drive. You add a little bit of plate, you think what, 10 or 15 horsepower? What's that going to do? That's not going to do much. The closure rate, everything is so much greater. Some of these guys, you almost had to relearn how to do this. So I think when you look at some of this stuff, talk bump drafting all you want to. We can talk it. It's going to come back up and rear its ugly head when we get to Talladega. But here, these guys, handling is the most important thing at Daytona, and these guys will police themselves.
But you know, Kyle, Kenny has a visual with his explanation.
Right, for you new fans, last year the restrictor plate looked like this, okay? This year, it's bigger, so the cars, it's
That
exaggerated.
is slightly exaggerated.
Yes. Yeah, but and Kyle's making a smiley face. But for all you new fans, the cars are going a lot faster this year, headed into the corner, which makes handling, you know, very, very important.
Yeah, and it's 1/64th of an inch, which is a difference. Kenny's got it this big.
I exaggerate.
All right, we'll be back with much more of the Daytona 500 edition of NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Daytona Beach, Florida, where the fans have filed in and the drivers are getting closer and closer to their drivers' meeting. That's where those guys are headed on this big day. The Daytona 500 at Daytona International Speedway. NASCAR Race Day is going to bring you right up to the moment, and I am standing next to Carl Edwards, who's getting ready to head into that drivers' meeting. Carl, okay, let's just get right down to the story that the media has been asking you again and again. It's Valentine's Day. Your wife is due any moment, but the good news is she's going to be okay for today.
Yeah, she says she doesn't feel like she's going to go into labor anytime soon. I just spoke with her, and Kate is at home. I love you, Kate, and I'm excited to get back home, and hopefully this week, you know, little Annie will you know, enter into the world before I go to California. That would be great.
Well, in talking with Randy, your PR director, he said it could be California or Vegas now. It's starting to extend. So what's the contingency plan after today?
Well, my plan is to drive my Aflac Ford Fusion, and if, you know, some crazy circumstance happens, Eric Darnell is on standby. Mike Wallace is here today, and Eric will be here, you know, going forward. But I don't think we're going to have to use it. I think we're just going to go race and try to get all the points we can, because we're here this year to win a championship. We've got to step it up, and performance on the track is really important.
Well, obviously, Carl's going to be in the race today for the Daytona 500, so let's talk about it, Carl. Your car, you're starting 27th. Any concern about coming that deep into the field? It's a long race, and you know anything can happen back there.
Yeah, the 27th sounds really good right now. We actually changed the engine, and we're going to go to the back. So, you know, after yesterday's race, I saw just, you know, how crazy this is going to be. And I'm just hoping to not be involved in any of that. I mean, we need to come out of here, you know, number one, the goal is to win the Daytona 500. That would be spectacular. It would be the greatest, you know, day of my racing career. But number two, we have to prepare for the long run. You know, we've got to be in the chase and be able to compete for a championship. So I think the fans are going to be the ones that win no matter what happens. This is going to be an amazing race. NASCAR did the right things with these restrictor plates. It's going to be a lot of fun.
We know the stars have to align for a driver to be in victory lane at the end of the day today. What is the biggest component in your mind that you have to accomplish in order to be the Daytona 500 champion?
It's a good question. You have to be in the right place at the right time, but more important than that, you have to be there. You have to be, you know, on the racetrack running at full speed at the end of the race. So the key is to not be caught up in something, to not make mistakes. You know, mistakes like Brad and I made yesterday. You know, and you know, getting together, we can't. We have to be cautious, but at the end, you have to be very aggressive, and you just have to be there.
All right, well, good luck to Carl Edwards today. Good luck to you next week before Fontana if we don't see him, because we know his wife, Kate, is at home watching. Carl Edwards could end up in victory lane and celebrating an awful lot this week in Daytona.
Yeah, well, thank you, Wendy. And we've got Jimmy Johnson on the show, the coach this time. We talk about Jimmy Johnson on our show every week. I'm glad you finally decided to join us on the show.
Well, I'm glad to be on the show, and I'm glad you're talking about me every week, or at least some Jimmy Johnson.
Well, I know you getting involved in NASCAR. Tell us why you're here.
Well, yeah, working with the Extends Racing team, and got involved with them here some time ago, and You know, one thing about Extends, they've gone mainstream now into the Walgreens, into Walmart, and one thing or another, CVS. And I'm pulling for my man Kevin, you know, for the number 37 car as far as the Extends racing team.
Well, look, we got the same problem you've got on your show. Y'all do a pregame show as well, and you've got to keep people like Terry Bradshaw in line. Any advice you could give us about Kyle Petty and Kenny Wallace, how to keep them under control during a live broadcast?
Hey, we do the same thing for Terry. Just turn off his microphone. That way he won't know it, you know, but he'll just keep on talking, but turn off his microphone.
Well, we'll start doing that in the future. Thanks for being here, and good luck to you guys today in the Daytona 500, and glad to have these guys here. They got a lot of promotions going on, guys.
All right, Hermie, thanks a lot. That's a great hair on Jimmy Johnson, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
We've already closed Kenny Wallace's mic. Taking coaches because he's won Super Bowls before, so we better listen to him. We got a big race coming up today. We're counting down to the Daytona 500. We're going to talk about NASCAR behind the scenes when we come back. Far away from the roar of the engines, Hendrick Motorsports is making an impact along with many other members of the NASCAR community. When Haiti got hit by a devastating earthquake, they raced to help.
There is no way to know how many people lost their lives in that 7.0 quake. Estimates of the death toll are all over the map, so we won't even guess. Tonight, witnesses on the ground are describing the destruction as unimaginable, and some of the images coming into our newsroom are predictably graphic. Survivors tell us you can hear the cries of people and children trapped in the rubble on every corner. There is no equipment to unearth them, no first responders to help them, and tonight, no relief aid to give them, no light even to see them.
My wife came back from Haiti probably 10 years ago and had talked about how poor the people were there. And then we were watching TV and watching the news when the earthquake happened. And just immediately it was like, I mean, these poor people have been through so much, and just the devastation you could see on TV. So we said, maybe we need to try to do something. We need to do it now.
We started doing a little research, and I think our initial search led us to Samaritan's Purse. And if I'm not mistaken, there was a link there somehow to Missionary Flights International. And so I called and spoke with one of their representatives here. And we talked a little bit about their mission and talked about their resources and our resources and how we might match those resources up.
Normally this hangar's full of airplanes, but as you can see, we're a warehouse from now on. Tons of supplies being delivered here for the relief of Haiti and all the earthquake victims. Also, we're taking a lot of passengers, which Hendricks is doing that for us.
They had it all locked down, everything. They have the groups already set up, ready to come in. They have the contact with the aid organizations in Haiti, knowing which people need to come out. They're familiar with the controllers in the area, all the procedures.
Well, obviously NASCAR is a team. You go to the races, you see the teams functioning well, and that's how they keep the car on the tracks. They have to learn how to work together as a crew or all the coordination with the driver. Well, it's very similar here. You know, in an aviation operation, you got your pilots and your mechanics, and you got your people loading the airplane and trying to schedule the airplane and get it down there. And so Hendricks folks know that.
We were able just to plug in immediately, and on about January 15th, I think it was our first flight into Haiti. And we were taking in surgeons and nurses and physicians and bringing back orphans and also family, you know, U.S. citizens that were trapped there. And it's been an unbelievable experience for our people.
I think all of us, particularly our flight crews, have gone through a roller coaster in terms of emotions. I think we have seen some very sad things, and I think we have seen some very happy things.
On the computer, we can track these planes and see where they are. And, you know, this plane's been on the ground for a couple hours now, and I'm trying to get in touch with Dave. He's got a satellite phone down there, and calling him
I'm sure they were excited, almost excited, as the adoptive parents who were standing on the other side of the customs door waiting for their kids to arrive. So they've been a great asset to us and encouragement to us, not only to us, but the missionaries and the Haitian people that they're working with in Haiti.
Our crews have done an absolute phenomenal job of operating safely and efficiently and have made, no doubt, a major contribution to the people of Haiti, and I couldn't be more proud.
It's a kindness and a gesture to fellow man, and the people they don't know, but they want to help, and I'm very, very proud of them.
You know, this world is about people and their needs, and as a Christian, I believe that Jesus Christ can meet those needs, and what we're doing now is reaching out. Last Sunday, and probably tomorrow, Monday, I probably won't make it to church because of what's going on here. It's just so busy. And someone who, like me, has gone to church all their life, in some respect, he's feel a little disappointed. Then I realized this is the church. This is a church in action. This is a church not sitting in a pew or hoping the air conditioner is just right. This is a church out here doing the work, getting dirty, and physically helping the people in Haiti who desperately need it. What we're doing is way beyond anything they could do to help themselves. There's no way they could help themselves in this way. They just have to lay there in the rubble. Unless us and Hendricks and the missionaries and these volunteers and the doctors and nurses didn't do what we do. We all have our niche, and I believe that God will honor everything we've done.
Now that was just a look at what Hendrick Motorsports did to help the situation there. There are too many other teams to name individually that went down and helped, but we know Michael Waltrip, Roush Fenway, Joe Gibbs Racing, along many, many others, jumped to it. And Kyle, you've seen it for your whole life. Kenny, you have too, that when there's something going on home or in the world, that NASCAR is the first community to jump to aid someone in trouble.
And I'm going to say this because I know Kyle won't. You know, a lot of things that NASCAR does is about changing lives. And Kyle doesn't know I'm going to say this, but what he done after his boy's death, starting the Victory Junction gang camp, is incredible. And you're a good man. You've helped a lot of people's lives. Those children that are dying, you're giving them a fun time in their life.
Oh, and that's cool, you know, and it really is. And Patty does all that, and I'm just part of what Victory Junction is. But I want to tell you something. Rick said a couple of things there that blew me away. When he said, you know, all the races, all the trophies, all the championships, that's, you know, we're sitting here talking about the biggest race of the year, the Daytona 500. And this event and what that organization and the other organizations, the NASCAR community has done for the people of Haiti to pull together, that's what it's all about. It's a single act of kindness, and that's what Rick said. It's just all about being kind, and he's one of the kindest men that you will ever meet.
Absolutely, and also, yes, Kyle, I got to echo what Kenny said. Nothing better than camp, seeing a kid have a smile on his face because he went to Adams Camp. That's something else. We got to take a quick break here. When we come back, we're going to get you down in the middle of it all, the pageantry of the pre-race for the Daytona 500.
It's been a fun ride so far, and we've got another hour plus chock full of racing goodness. King Kenny looks to start his title defense, while our new judge in town tries to keep Herm in line and take home the pick hardware. As always, the Headset Brigade stays on the pavement to deliver the inside scoop. JR, Kyle, and the man of 1,000 hats think you should stay tuned for more serious questions.
Why does my right butt cheek hurt so bad?
Beer-drinking monkeys and some friends. When the going gets weird, the weird turn pro. And we're professional weirdos. NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot, continues now.
That was awesome.
Speed Weeks 2010 has been wild to say the least. We have seen so much action in such a short period of time down here at Daytona. Wrecks were the rule of the road to begin with, as we saw drivers go into backup after backup after backup. But then, when it came time for the duel day, we saw two of the closest finishes we have ever seen here at Daytona. A matter of the length of a splitter when it came down to who won and who finished second. Matt Kenseth is the defending champion of this race. You might say he's the reigning champion of this race. Ryan Newman won it the year before. He got his Daytona glory, and Mark Martin will start on the pole. A mere 0.2 of a second stopped him from winning before. Dale Jr. in 2004 had this field covered up, and Jimmy Johnson has had Daytona glory before, but he's already thinking championship, and it all starts here at Daytona in the 500 as NASCAR race day built by the Home Depot builds on, and we're going to take a look at how Jimmy Johnson builds championships.
Championships are everything in sports.
Jimmy Johnson is going to be the 2006 NASCAR Nextel Cup Series champion.
And the celebration is on for the second year in a row for the Lowe's Chevrolet team.
And Jimmy Johnson wins his third consecutive NASCAR Sprint Cup Series championship.
2008 Sprint Cup champion. Repeat, baby. Thank you, thank you.
I'm sure when I look back, it will be the way my life's work, my career's work is kind of judged, is by championships.
The white flag. Wave the white flag. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. Johnson to the inside of Hamlin. He bangs it, and Jimmy Johnson takes the lead with the bump and run.
Great job.
He is free and clear, and he's headed for home.
Jimmy Johnson wins for the 6th time here at Martinsville.
All right, boys. Get limbered up here. Don't need you. Go, 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 go. All out. Go. You got him, baby. You got him. Nice. I may kiss you when this is over, Chad. Take one from Shandy. Go, 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 go. All out, man. Go. Damn it, guys.
Jimmy Johnson back in the 9th position. He's got some fighting to do.
We'll be fine. You can drive right by these guys.
They are side by side for the lead at Dover. The Jimmy Johnson Express. Just too fast and too strong.
Boy, you got him, dude. You got him.
Jimmy Johnson, who led 297 laps today, comes home as the winner.
This is just the start of a kick-ass season for us. I gave it all I had. He just beat me off a 4 too much there.
Jimmy Johnson becomes a 3-time winner at the Brickyard.
Hell yes, boys! Hell yes!
Jimmy Johnson has been in command all afternoon and looks like is determined to work his way towards a 4th Sprint Cup Series championship. He has been the man here today at Dover International Speedway.
Oh, nice work, Johnson. Nice work.
Jimmy Johnson looking like a 3-time champion should.
That's right, boys. Maximum points.
For Jimmy Johnson, it's his 3rd win in the chase, his 6th win this season, the 6th time he will take the checkered flag at Lowe's Motor Speedway.
Unbelievable, boys. Woo!
We've got Jimmy Johnson sliding on turn 2. He collects Sam Hornish Jr. and pounds the inside wall.
He's tore out, Mark. He's definitely going to the garage.
The one thing that Jimmy Johnson did not want to happen, happened.
You're a 3-time champion. This is the way you're supposed to race. Jimmy Johnson comes to the line, winning for the 7th time this year.
Yes, 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 yes! Where'd that fight finish? Great job, Jimmy. Chad, great job, guys. Good job today, man. Great effort.
A beautiful Sunday afternoon here in South Florida as the season winds down. And, of course, it comes down to a championship that is on the line.
Go out there and enjoy the state today, boys. Could be one of the best days of your lives right here.
And Jimmy Johnson indeed makes history tonight and claimed his 4th consecutive Sprint Cup Series championship.
Thank you. Chad, you rock, brother. It's all you, my friend. It's all you.
If you take a look at Jimmy Johnson's numbers and you consider how long he's been racing, they are not phenomenal. They are incredible. 291 races. And his numbers, the strange thing, guys, along the way is his numbers in the chase have been absolutely phenomenal. You know, he's won somewhere, around a quarter of the races that he's raced in the chase. That's absolutely amazing.
Here's what amazes me. Jimmy Johnson scores more points in the chase than a third of the competitors score in the first 26 races of the year. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you're looking at guys that are finishing 25th back or whatever. They're not scoring as many points in 26 races as Jimmy is in 10. It's phenomenal.
And after 4 straight championships, I think Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus will have trained everybody. Oh, this is how it's done. After 4 championships, let's see if everybody takes notice. But I also think the reason they've done it is because of all their talent.
And you know what's funny? If they go to the media, and we're sometimes slow. Last 4 years, the media never overwhelmingly said that Jimmy Johnson was their favorite to repeat his championship. This year, the media's favorite to repeat as champion.
Because they were trained. We had to train the media that, hey, he's won 4 championships.
And now we finally learned after 4 years.
4 years to believe it. What's up with that?
Okay, who's the challenger? We heard from Spence earlier. He said the Toyota camp's the challenger. That only narrowed it down to about, 7, 8 teams.
Well, there has to be consistency because one thing we've learned, Kyle Busch is fast. There's no doubt he's a great race car driver. But you have to have consistency. Like we say, when you get into the chase, you have to be consistent for those 10 races. You can be fast, but if you break, you're done. So that's what I think it's going to take.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this. Now, this is way early in the year. I can't believe we're talking points racing already. Daytona. But, a lot of these guys are. But here's what I'm going to say. The championship, once again, comes out of the Hendricks camp. Because where else do you learn how to race the chase than from the best? And Jimmy and Chad are the best. So my guy this year for the chase or for the championship is Jeff Gordon. He's going to beat Jimmy to 5. That's my deal.
Somebody toured the race shops that I really respect, high-end person. They said after touring Hendrick Motorsports, they'll never be beat. I went, wow.
Yeah. Incredible.
Let us go now inside to Hermie Sadler, who can add on Jimmy and Chad.
Yeah, you guys hit a lot of this stuff right on the head, and when you look at Hendrick Motorsports, they do it better, as Kenny Wallace said, better than anybody else. And when I look at Jimmy Johnson, you can look at the stats, and they're obviously staggering. But to me, what really stands out about this 48 team is all the Hendrick Motorsports team have access to the same parts, pieces, engines, cars as all the other teammates at Hendrick Motorsports. After every race, all the crew chiefs, because Rick Hendrick demands they do it, all the teams open up their notebooks to all their teammates so they can see what Jimmy did last week. And in spite of all that, he continues to one-up them. He continues to get better, and they continue to be the standard bearer for Hendrick Motorsports and NASCAR. So when you look at all those things together and you look at they're doing this as part of a 4-car team, what they're doing is absolutely phenomenal, and I see no end in sight, Wendy.
Hermie, a lot of race fans have to be reminded, the last champion before Jimmy Johnson held the last 4 titles, it was Tony Stewart back in 2005. That seems like ages ago. Of course, Tony Stewart was with Joe Gibbs Racing back then. Now he's with Stewart Haas and his owned team. So what can Tony Stewart do with his new team in 2010? Well, Tony Stewart's going back for that championship again and hoping to knock Jimmy Johnson off the top. Questions in the garage are the same thing that we talk about on TV. How do we get Jimmy Johnson off the top of that? 4 years going strong, it gets a little repetitious to some of these other crew members that work on these other teams. But at the same time, we know that Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson have hit on something that nobody else has been able to hit on in the last 4 years. So who can knock them off the top? We've talked about it. We don't know that answer yet, and we're going to have to wait 1 year till we get to Homestead. Oh my goodness, it seems so far away. But we're going to have to be patient and wait to see how the season plays out. Nonetheless, I think Tony Stewart could give them a run. Keep in mind, Johnny, we know he has the Hendrick power behind him and that backing from Hendrick Motorsports at Stewart Haas Racing.
So here's another question, Wendy, as we have to go to break right now. A lot of fans are pondering, how do they get Dale Earnhardt Jr. up into that upper echelon as well? And you better believe everybody at Hendrick Motorsports is working hard to get that done. We still have a lot to come here on a NASCAR race day built by the Home Depot. When we come back, we're going to get you back inside the garage area and talk to some of the stars of NASCAR. Welcome back, everyone, to Race Day. Now, while the rest of us were doing our best job to try to give the American racing public quality television, our good friend Rutledge Wood, was doing what he does best, and that's mess around. He won a go-kart race, which I think was fixed. He was all cheated up. And he also did the fun slide as well with C4, Christina Glendon. In tow. She was the onboard camera for Rutledge, and that was very well done, Rutledge. The aerodynamics of the hair definitely helped. And now Rutledge finds himself on the Budweiser party porch, which is one of the best places to go and view this 50-second running of the Daytona 500. And Rutledge is out there, with probably several hundred of his closest friends.
Oh, John, this place is blown up. This is so much fun to be out here. We're out here on the backstretch, like you said, the Budweiser party porch. I don't know if you can look down this way. That's Christina, who went down the fun slide with me. We've got all the turns 3 and 4. Plus, if you go all the way down the backstretch, we've got the end of 1 and 2. All the action can be seen right back here. Plus, we got a band playing. You guys saw the big carnival. This is such a fun, fan center thing to be out here. Robin Bragg, you guys probably remember, for the Daytona 24 Hours was out here pretending to be me running around because we've got the Budweiser Tavern out here. Some of our speed guys, y'all are going to be coming over in a little while. I mean, Rick and Phil are on their way. It's going to be huge, my friends here. This is so fun. You can see everything. And I know it's Valentine's Day. My wife and daughter are watching home. You guys will be up here with me next year, I promise, because this is so cool. And I think if you look right over here, you guys wave. My friend Coker's up on top of the roof. Hey, you guys, just come join us. It's so fun out here. Look how big this is.
Sun and fun, Daytona.
You know, it was funny. Earlier in the week, we were listening to Rutledge talk on his phone, and he said, hey, man, I got to go. I'm working right now. And we said, Rutledge, you don't work. What are you doing out there? Who's he talking to? Well, we got a lot of work to do before the real work starts, and that's the Daytona 500. The stars of NASCAR are aligning on the grid, and the pre-race pageantry is about to begin, so stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. It is race day at Daytona, and it is time now for our Sunoco Performance Picks. Now, we figure it's working pretty good for NASCAR, so we're going to change our rules up a little bit. A, to involve the fans, but B, to make it a little bit harder on us. Before, over the years, we've always just picked one driver to win. Now we're going to have to pick from 3 different groups of drivers. The chase drivers, 1 through 12. 13 through 30 is another group, and then 30 on back is our dark horse picks for any given race. So we're going to have to do just a little bit more research and try just a little bit harder. And because Kyle has a rookie stripe on the back of his fantasy chair, you get to go first and give us your top dog pick, your middle tier pick, and your dark horse pick.
Okay, let me just say straight up, I watched race day before I had the opportunity to be here, and Wendy kicked y'all's butt.
Yeah,
except for last year.
Not last year, but she kicked your butt.
Yes, she did.
Okay.
Last year, I was the champion.
There you go, the champion.
That was last year.
Okay, my A tier, and it's been on speedtv.com. Okay, has been the Biff. Okay, my A team, that's my.
Gotta like the Biff.
B tier is AJ Allmendinger, and my sentimental pick, because I love this guy, Michael Waltrip. He lived with me for a while when he first came down here, but I'm going to tell you something. He's given his heart and soul to the sport.
Yes, he has.
And I'm
no doubt.
He has been a big part over the last few years. He's now transitioning, and I know how hard it is to transition from a driver into an owner or into another place in your life. He's still always going to be a race car driver, but he's always going to be Michael Waltrip.
Okay, here we go. My A pick. He's so beautiful. You ladies love him. Casey Kane will win the Daytona 500.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Kyle Petty.
My B pick outside the top 12 in the points is going to be, he's no B driver. He's no B driver. Kyle Busch. Now my C, what? Why don't people like
Kyle? Be nice.
I don't. We don't like people that win. Boo. Crazy people. Okay, my C pick, which is a person outside the top 30 in the points, he's not really new, is Brad Keselowski. So there you go, my first pick for the year. Who's next?
Hermie Sadler.
Hermie!
Well, thank you there, Kenny Wallace. And here are my 3 picks. Number 1, Tony Stewart. I think if anybody's to upset Jimmy Johnson, it's Tony Stewart. I think he'll win today, win that first Daytona 500. My second pick is Kevin Harvick. Those RCR cars have been strong all week. Harvick won the shootout. He's got a good chance to win today. And my third pick, Awesome Bill from Dawsonville, and that Wood Brothers number 21. He's been fast all week. Look for Bill to have a good run as well. How about it, JR?
You know, Hermie won this race 23 years ago was the last time Bill Elliott won the 500. He's still with us. Take a look at my guys, and the good thing about this is, fans, you can play along with us on speedtv.com. I got Kurt Busch as the man who has been so close. 3 times he's finished second at this race. But I want to talk about my other brother, Elliott Sadler, in the number 19, runs great at Daytona. I think he's going to do a lot more than just some, you know, he's no B-tier driver, but he's going to make waves today. And I like Brad Keselowski as well to come from outside of the top 30 and make some serious waves this year. Wendy?
Well, Johnny, I already like having Kyle on the show. You know, fantasy picks. He realized what's happened the last 3 years. But let's talk about my C-tier driver. Okay, it's kind of hard to figure out which drivers and why they're in there. It's points from last year, as you mentioned, Johnny. C-tier, I'm going with Scott Speed. He struggled making races in the past, and now here we are talking about him. I like what Red Bull showed in this week at Speed Week so far. Now, B-tier driver, that's going to be Kyle Busch I'm going for. I really like what he had to show so far at Speed Weeks, and I think he's willing to put himself in a situation keep them up front. And my A-tier driver for today that I'm picking to win the Daytona 500 will be Kurt Busch. Now, it's not a Busch Brothers love fest. It just so happens I really liked what I saw with the Penske power throughout the dual races and the shootout races. Of course, this is not the same car, but Kurt Busch looks really fast here at Daytona, and I'm picking him to win. And Kenny, I'm glad that you warned Kyle in our production meeting how serious I take these fantasy picks.
Yes. I'm
kidding.
No, you're all kidding. But Wendy, you know, her family is the Venturini Motorsports.
Exactly.
They win all the ARC races. Wendy is just not a TV girl. She is a racer by heart. So
well, thank you. I'll take that. Thank you.
I cannot underestimate Wendy Venturini. She's a racer.
Hey, if a game's worth playing, it's worth winning, right?
That's right, baby.
Exactly.
And you can play along with us at home. Now, after the checkered flag is waved, be sure to check out NASCAR Victory Lane, fueled by Sunoco, and catch all of the race highlights in raw emotion straight from Victory Lane. Also, go to speedtv.com, keyword Sunoco, to enter for your chance to win an autographed flag signed by the winner of today's race. And play along with us in the fantasy game. Look at that grid. There is nothing quite like it. We're going to get you down in the middle of it all when NASCAR Race Day comes back.
You like old school? Then we got a treat for you. We'll flash back to the good old days when bending the rules meant winning the race.
They couldn't outrun us. They just outsmarted them in the pits, and that's what won the race.
Around the turn.
Back it down now, back it down, back it down.
NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot.
You simply can't win 4 consecutive championships unless you got a good strategy. So today, it is our pleasure to introduce once again for the 2010 season our Sunoco Pit Strategy of the Week with Chad Knaus.
Well, welcome back, everybody. It's the start of the 2010 racing season, and here we are at the Great American Race. This is going to be a very, very good race. We got so many different things to talk about. We've got a different wicker on the back. We've got different end plates. We've got a different tire, a different restrictor plate, and different rear shocks. That's a lot of different stuff. All of that's going to come into play with your pit strategy this weekend. You're going to have to pay attention to the track position. It really seems like when the guys are back in traffic, these cars are very, very ill handling because of what's going on with the rear shocks and the rear wing. You're going to have to pay attention to try to maintain that track position so at the end of the race, when you have that short run, you can be up towards the front to try to make something happen. You go about 43 laps on a Sunoco fuel run, but I'll be very, very doubtful that you'll see very many long green flag runs just because of the way the cars are handling here. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the Daytona 500.
And we want to remind you once again, after the checkered flag is waved, be sure to check out NASCAR Victory Lane, fueled by Sunoco, and catch all of the race highlights in raw emotion straight from Victory Lane. Also, go to speedtv.com, keyword Sunoco, to enter for your chance to win an autographed flag signed by the winner of today's race. Now, who is going to win this race today will definitely come down to strategy, because over the years, the fuel cell has gotten a little bit smaller here, but anything can happen. And some of the things we've seen, sometimes the last, maybe over the last 4 races here, the leaders haven't led but 10 laps.
Well, and the 4-time winning crew chief Chad Knaus just told us in that Sunoco piece the things that are really hurting some of these teams with these new rule changes. Bigger restrictor plate, different shocks, different aerodynamic packages. So I think whoever overcomes those the best, and we got an example in the dual 150s, Kyle. I think obviously that's probably who's going to win the Daytona 500. But one more thing, whoever misses the wrecks.
Yeah, exactly. But and I'm going to tell you, that's a big part of it, because you can get caught up in somebody else's accident. It's not your fault. But we saw strategy and the 150. I mean, so what makes you think strategy's not going to come into play in the 500 if it comes into play in the qualifying races? And if you go back, and I'm not sure of this, so I'm just pulling this out of my rear end, okay, so let me be honest there. Okay, if you look at the history of the Daytona 500, there's probably been X number won by pure horsepower. X number of races have been won by drivers making the right move at the right time. But there's been the same amount won by crew chiefs on pit road that made the right decisions and the right calls for fuel mileage and tires. Driver had nothing to do with it. Horsepower had nothing to do with it. All crew chiefs. And Richard Petty won a couple of those that way.
There have been 51 Daytona 500 races. This is coming up on the 52nd, and only 33 different drivers have won here. Could we add another name to that list, or could it be a repeat winner? Well, we will find out when we come back to NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot. Welcome back, everyone, to the Daytona International Speedway on the biggest day in NASCAR racing. It is Daytona 500, the 52nd running of this great American race, and we have a beautiful day and a huge crowd here at this magnificent racetrack. Moments ago in the drivers' meeting, David Hoots used some visual aids to tell the drivers about some of the new rules and some of the new things going on the racetrack. Of course, one of the big things, item of stressing, was 3 times we will go for a green-white checkered finish to try to give the fans a green flag finish here in the Great American Race. But now let's go to Wendy Venturini, who is standing by with the 2008 winner of the Daytona 500.
Thanks, Johnny. It was a history-making kind of day in 2008 for Ryan Newman. Ryan, you have a friend with you, Lieutenant General Benjamin Frakely. How cool would it be to get back in victory lane here at Daytona, knowing the troops are here to support you today?
Well, it'd be awesome. The number 39's never been to victory lane in Sprint Cup Series action, so having the U.S. Army on board and a great win it would be for Stewart-Haas Racing, it'd be awesome. So we'll do our best.
What do you think, Lieutenant? Have you been to the 500 before? I've seen you around the racetrack.
I was here 2 years ago and saw that race, and we're thrilled to be back again today and back in Ryan in the 39 car. We're just like he is. We want to see it in Victory Circle. It means a lot to our soldiers overseas, especially those that are fighting in Afghanistan, to see Ryan and do what he's doing and see this great sport of NASCAR support our soldiers. So you bet we're behind him and looking for a victory.
We're honored to see you today. Ryan, talk about this week going into it. There's a lot of talk about Stewart-Haas Racing in its second year since its inception. How do you feel? How confident do you feel about going into this Daytona 500?
I was confident last year, and I'm more confident this year. And we actually have a notebook to go back on, look at our notes, and see the things that we've done. I got experience working with Tony Gibson, all the people from Stewart-Haas Racing, and just having that level of communication, that chemistry that we've created over years is extremely important. So I felt that we were all capable last year, and I still feel that we were. We just didn't have a good race, and this is going to be a better year yet, I hope.
Obviously, things didn't repeat in 2009, but did you go through something in 2008, your morning routine that you stick to now when you get to Daytona? Like, I have to eat this, I have to do that. Kinda.
2008 was 3 of my wife's cookies and a banana, and right now I got 2 of my wife's cookies, a banana, and a granola bar, so I'm trying to eat a little bit healthier.
And those cookies were very good. Tell Chrissy thank you.
I will. You're welcome.
All right, Ryan Newman getting prepped for the Daytona 500. It's not in a pre-race diet, Johnny, as you know, but he said I definitely needed one to perk up for the day. It's a Valentine's Day treat.
All right, thanks very much, Wendy. It's hard enough to race here at Daytona, but you got a 3-star general telling you got to go out there and get it done. That's pressure. What was your pre-race ritual, Kyle? Or did you have one?
Yeah, I got out of bed.
Every time, right?
Every
race.
Sunday. Every Sunday I rolled out of bed. That was my pre-race ritual.
I'm not sure I really want to know what Kenny did.
You know what? I really never had a ritual. I always made sure that I did not drink any beer like 2 days before the race.
Oh, I thought you were going to say 2 hours.
Or the morning of.
Hey, Dale Earnhardt taught me that. So, when I go to the racetrack on the weekends, I make sure I don't drink any beer, and I try to eat a little pasta. You try to eat the right foods, you know what I mean? But I think it's funny, there are people that have nervous situations. For example, when Mark Martin gets in the car, he'll start banging his knees together. He's done it his whole career. There are some drivers that just do things.
Does this look familiar?
Rusty, my brother Rusty.
Yeah, he'd do that, wouldn't he?
Yeah, just
inside the car, yeah.
He gets ready to go green flag, and boy, he got them big old elbows up. No, Rusty. They're like, green flag next lap, Rusty, you go. He always makes a sound, he goes. he does it all.
Loosen up, man.
He cracks his wrists, and then he goes. And here he goes.
When Rusty first started driving, it used to make me mad when you'd restart behind him because you thought he was motioning. Get away. It's a restart. I got to go when you go.
Hey, let me tell you something, buddy. It's just like an old motor that's carboned up. You clear it out. All drivers, they do something to clear it out, buddy. Here's what I do all the time. When they say, we're getting ready to go green flag, here I am.
That's the way he comes back from break, too.
What do you do?
I'm just sitting here, man. I'm just sitting here.
I'm not sure what to say after that, although, other than we'll be back in a moment with more pre-race coverage from the Daytona 500.
Clear it out, baby.
Next week, after the 500 madness, the boys head to the left coast to chill in the Cali sun. Who rides the wave to victory? Live from Fontana, NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot.
We are continuing to count down to the 52nd running of the Great American Race, the Daytona 500, and we could not have better weather. It's supposed to be 60 degrees today. We have sunshine and all the pageantry that is the Daytona 500. Fortunately, up here on the stage with us, we have two guys who have sat in the race car on that grid before this race, and I know that's your safety zone that you get into, but when you go there every time, did you think, man, I'm about to run the Daytona 500?
You know, you thought, man, I'm about to get away from everybody so I can run the Daytona 500. Because there's so much hype, there's so much stuff going on. You see that shot as we pull back. All those people are down there in the grid. They don't let that many people down on the field before the Super Bowl. They don't let people, and that's the cool part about NASCAR. Fans can actually go out, they see the car, they see the stuff, they can touch. You see the pre-race entertainment, you see all that stuff. But from a driver's perspective, the quietest, nicest place of the day for the Daytona 500 is when you're sitting in that car and you're strapped in, you're talking to your crew chief, you're saying a prayer, you're talking to everybody the people that need to talk to you, and it's a good, calm place to be.
Kyle said it perfectly. I mean, Kyle's a racer. You know, my experience yesterday in the nationwide race, one of my crew members looked at me and I went, finally. You know, I get to get into my office. I mean, I just absolutely, you know, love driving this Blue Ox car to a 16th place finish. This was not planned, actually.
Hey, and there were 4 Wallaces in the race, and you were the second highest finishing Wallace.
Yeah, I'm happy that my nephew Stephen Wallace finished 10th. I was 16th. My brother Mike got in a wreck, 28th, and Chrissy got wrecked by Paul Menard at the start of the race. Didn't mean to call you out, but that's what happened. So, you know, don't gang up on Chrissy. She got wrecked.
There's 4 Wallaces and 1 Menard. Just remember that.
Hey, you're right.
That's a call out. That's a call out.
We should have wrecked him, darn it.
Hindsight's always 20/20, I guess. Let's now go to Hermie Sadler.
Well, thank you, JR. We've talked all week about how great the racing has been on the racetrack this week at Daytona. But looking back to the dual races on Thursday, I think this race may be won or lost in the pits. And we talk a lot about tires. You see the tires lined up to go on Casey Kane's Budweiser Ford during the course of the race today. Chad Knaus really educated a lot of these crew chiefs and teams with the dual this week by staying on the racetrack at the end and having his drivers step up and hold off the guys with new tires to win the dual race on Thursday. And sometimes I think at Daytona we overlook it is very difficult to get on pit road from the racetrack at Daytona. You go from 175, 180 down to 70 without speeding while maximizing your speed on pit road. You got to be careful not to slide through your pit so you guys can do the job. We saw A.J. Allmendinger, a teammate of Casey Kane, had a very fast car on Thursday, missed his pit box, cost him a chance to win the race. So a lot is on the line on the racetrack, but even more on the line when these cars come to pit road. What do you do to your car? Do you take tires or not? And does your driver not make mistakes at crucial times to cost you a chance to win the Daytona 500, JR?
Hermie, thanks a lot. Now, not only has this been one of the coldest speed weeks in recent memory, it's also been pretty rainy. They lost practice time on Friday, and honestly, for the most part, many teams did not care. They didn't miss the practice time. But for the new combinations out there, the new driver crew chiefs, the guys in the backup cars, there were some people that really missed that practice.
Well, you know, there's a lot going on with these crew members. And this morning I got up for our meeting at 6 o'clock in the morning. I looked up and all these planes were flying in. Race fans, we have to remember that there are specialized crew members in our sport today. These guys that are changing tires in the Daytona 500, these guys that are working the jack, they're athletes. Some of them are retired football players, they're hockey players, and they are flown in on the morning of the race. They're called the race day crew, Kyle. And I never thought we'd be that specialized in our sport.
No, and that's an excellent point going into this race. The only time these guys have had a pit stop has been if you were in the shootout, you had a pit stop, and if you were in the 125s, obviously everybody was. But the trick was, these guys, so many changes in the sport during the offseason. These guys got laid off here, they got picked up there. A good tire changer became available here, I pick him up and put him on my team. Now, they've practiced almost every single day. They work out, they lift weights, they eat right, but they flew in this morning for the Super Bowl. And this is what it's all about. This is game day. They got to perform play after play after play. And that'll come into play. If you can do it twice, you better be able to do it 10 times out here on Sunday.
Exactly. The pressure is on everybody, including the crew members. And let's remember, one dropped lug nut, 1 second off one tire, could mean the difference between second place and first place in the Daytona 500. We'll be back.
NASCAR Race Day is built by the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. And brought to you in part by Cici's Pizza, home of the endless pizza, pasta, salad, and dessert buffet.
Back in 1979, Ken Squire was front and center on the first flag-to-flag coverage of the Daytona 500. So, if anyone supports a trip back to basics, it's our good friend Ken.
So it's back to basics, is it? Well, say, I'm all for that. Open up those restrictor plates, loosen up on that bump drafting, let up on that techno stuff, and let drivers do their darndest to manhandle those big boxy critters. Back to basics means drivers, pure and simple. Technology's fine, but drivers making 3,000 pounds of steel dance to their tune. Now that was racing. I'm talking about people who can size up the situation, screw their courage down a little tighter, and give their followers something to believe in. Sure, it's risky business, but that's what made the game so unique, so challenging, and to we viewers, so intriguing. Drivers who grasped that steering wheel and dealt with it as if it were life itself and created American-style heroes. Guys like Earnhardt, who seemed to have only one concern, the guy in front of him. Tell me about the heroes. Put them in cars that are as skittish as a colt and just as hard to break. Was the racing better when it was in the racer's hands? No radios, no sophisticated electronic team networks, just a driver on an ocean of asphalt and a chalkboard on pit road to successfully sail that baby home. The qualities that created great drivers, to me, is still the same today, but it's all covered up in technical jargon and sponsor demands. Well, let me tell you, NASCAR is focusing on bringing back some of that old-time flavor and hopefully a little more independence for the stars. Within reason, there'll be a little less punishment for being themselves. NASCAR needs more characters. They have them, and taking some of the pressure off personal conduct will get us back to some of those personalities that help make the whole thing sing. But say, when one speaks of character, make way for the folks behind the NASCAR pillars. Those creative souls who never considered themselves cheaters, just mechanics who got, once in a while, a little over-competitive. Those old shade tree mechanics who sometimes were considered a little on the shady side. And only because they were such devout readers of the rule book, they could ramble off pages of rules like scripture and then spend hours chewing on not just the black and white, but the important stuff in the rule book, the gray area. You got to give credit to where credit is due. Those wonderful rascals like Ray Fox or Harry Hyde. Why, even Junior Johnson knew a trick or two that bounded right past the rule book. People who could create wheels that weighed 70 pounds more than a regulation wheel, and then invent ingenious ways in which lighter wheels found their way on the race cars when it was showtime. Or the creative genius who invented that retractable restrictor plate. It looked just like a regular restrictor plate, but come race time, the engine really heated up, the darn thing would melt. Then there was the amazing accordion fuel cell, which could pass as a standard gas tank, but could expand by several gallons during the race, and at the end of the day, assume its mild-mannered regulation size. Genius, true genius. So it's back to basics, is it? But where are those creators of such mischief? Well, seemingly their days are gone forever. What with a NASCAR cast of hundreds peeking and prying into everything, and in those inspection rooms where the dreaded claw reaches down to catch culprits in its clutches. But behold, there may be hope. There still may be creative challengers around here. Take note of the extra time those whistleblowers seem to take when a Chad Knaus creation shows up for a checkup. Oh boy, there is still hope. Hope that unbridled drivers with attitudes and old-fashioned shade tree mechanics that fancy inspectors always give a hard time to will add some pepper to the pot of stock car racing. If we really want to get back to basics, it's a grand day.
You know, it was 3 years ago at this very racetrack where myself and Kyle Petty were doing a TV show, and Kyle, you pointed at the racetrack, and we were talking about what some of the perceived problems were with NASCAR among fans, marketers, merchandisers, things like that. You pointed at the racetrack and you said, all they have to worry about, all anybody has to worry about is what goes on there, on that racetrack, and everything else will take care of itself.
Everything else takes care of itself. The show, all these people behind us, we're sitting here, all the sponsors are here because of what goes on the racetrack. That's what this is all about. It doesn't make any difference. And you know, I watched that piece. Squire did a great job. That was a great piece. But I watched that piece, and I think about Bobby Isaac and Cale Yarborough and Buddy Baker and the King and Pearson. And then I think about those guys and how they used to race. And we talk about bump drafting. In their day, that was called running into each other.
Right.
Okay? That was right. And they talk about the art of bump drafting. There is no art to running into each other. But I think what you'll see in the Daytona 500 today is the art of racing. The art of what racing used to be. When NASCAR talks about going back to the basics, it's put it back in the driver's hands. I want you guys at home and the people at home, when you watch the race today, to watch through the windshield and watch those drivers' hands in those white gloves. Watch them turn left and then turn back right. That's got nothing to do with engineering. That's got nothing to do with sponsors on the side. That's pure talent. And you're going to see a lot more of that today than probably what we've seen in the past down here.
43 of the most talented drivers anywhere, Kenny.
It's a great day in NASCAR history because I firmly believe we got too efficient, too perfect. The engineers are going to hate me for this, but I mean, when guys have 20 engineers on one team, it's like, what happened to our sport? You know, people like sometimes imperfection, not to be so perfect. That's why we loved the late, great Dale Earnhardt. He worked at Punchy Winneker's Tire Service, had old mustache. He'd get in that old car. He'd hit you, spin you out. Everybody'd boo him, but he'd go on to victory lane. Earnhardt's deal was this: I'll tap you. If you can catch me, then tap me back. And I just think the sport got a little too perfect, and now we're back to the old days, baby, and I know y'all are going to love it. And I've heard some great reviews already. It's going to be a great Daytona 500.
Let's roll up our sleeves, get down and dirty. For one last taste of what's going on inside the racetrack, let's check in with Hermie Sadler.
Well, JR, I've been in a lot of cool places in my life, but right here on the flag stand at Daytona International Speedway, absolutely unbelievable. Chris Devoda came up here last night for the truck race. I had to come check it out today for the Sprint Cup race. Hi, Mom. I'm on TV. If you want to know what Daytona's all about, just look around, look at the people, look at the crowd, look at the fans on the racetrack. Unbelievable feeling to be here. Just the energy that we have at Daytona, just like nowhere else. People are sitting on the racetrack. People are autographing the start-finish line. Just an unbelievable experience that you get here in NASCAR at Daytona that you get nowhere else. Now, where's Wendy Venturini at? Wendy?
Hermie, we truly do have the coolest jobs here on NASCAR Race Day. 150,000 fans are going to file into Daytona, and I think they're all right here below this stage. This is the stage exactly where Tim McGraw is going to play his pre-race concert. It is the Daytona 500. Anything can happen today, and the 2010 season is about to get started, and it's about to get started right here in Daytona. It doesn't get any more exciting than this. Check out this crowd today. They are revved up, fired up, ready to go. The 2010 season is about to be underway, and nobody is getting you closer than NASCAR Race Day. Johnny, this is very, very fun down here.
I think what the fans were saying down there was they wanted Wendy to sing him a song. I think that
could be. That could be.
All right, there are sentimental favorites in this race. We got Tony Stewart, hadn't won the Daytona 500 yet, but won everything else. We got Mark Martin starting on the pole, and everybody wants to see Junior win another Daytona 500.
And the bottom line is this: how great would it be to have Mark Martin or Michael Waltrip, some of these sentimental favorites, win the Daytona 500? Some of these guys are so young, they got a lot of time. Mark Martin, Michael Waltrip, that would be great.
Yeah, my sentimental would be Mark Martin. And, you know, to win, to set on the pole and win this late in his career, at the same time for Michael Waltrip to win this race. Of course, with Michael, hey, he may be back next year if he won again this year. You know, you never know. He may be up. Michael and Mark may be on the same retirement tour.
I think Michael Waltrip's going to work full-time for Speed. He's finally going to quit racing.
We would like to have him around.
Of course, he might be back for the Daytona 500 next year.
Just one of the many personalities that makes this sport of NASCAR what it is. The elusive victory at the Daytona 500 is within the grasp of many of NASCAR's greats, and it is right around the corner. We remind you to tune now to your local Fox affiliate for the Daytona 500 and come back here and join us tonight for Victory Lane on Speed. Thanks for coming along for the ride, and enjoy the Daytona 500.